Hello, my name is Heath Dawson. I'm the Executive Director with the Living Word Outdoor Drama.
And I'm Logan Hill, the Artistic Director out at the Living Word.
And we want to thank you tonight for joining us for another devotional. Tonight's devotional is going to be centered around the Pilate and Claudia scene that takes place at the Living Word Outdoor Drama, Ohio's only outdoor passion play. If you want to get ready for the lesson tonight, we will be reading from Matthew 27, and we're going to focus on verses 11 through 19. As you know, if you join this devotional each week, it's been online every Wednesday night at 5 p.m. We hope that you have learned a lot from the devotionals. I know personally I have learned a ton from doing these. And if you really like the way these devotionals are centered, it basically comes from Stop 9 Church of Christ. It's called Discovery Bible Study. We have cards that you basically follow, and it's built for small study groups of 4 to 6 people. Basically what I did is I took those cards and just applied it to our lessons that we're studying. So it's basically the same thing. It's built so anybody can lead a study. So if somebody, me that's not a rocket scientist, it's easy to lead a study. So if you've enjoyed that, basically you look into that Discovery Bible Study. Neat cards. It's been a great ministry tool. People are getting baptized left and right through these studies. So it's pretty neat. I know in our group we've had 2 people alone in our little 6-man group get baptized.
And maybe somebody out there is feel like they're being called to lead a Bible study, but they just don't know how. Mm-hmm. And it can be a good example for them.
Right, that's a great point, Logan. So
this is definitely out of my comfort zone. So,
and you're doing great. I mean, I've learned a ton from you, so I appreciate you willing to do this. Again, we hope you have enjoyed our online season. We did 70 videos, 14 weeks, five days a week, Monday through Friday at 5. We didn't have a season this year. Very disappointing. I was excited to see what Logan could do as this was your first year. I'm sure you're a little bummed about not having the season.
A little bummed, but at the same time, I feel like we have because of trying to coordinate all of the filming and everything and get all of that done.
Right.
So
I think
it just was a little different than I was planning on. So.
I think it's upset Satan because I think he was really happy that we didn't have a season, but yet, you know, when I sit down and pray to God, hey, what can we do? And he gave me the ideas of doing these videos. And I remember telling you, and you were so amped about it. And and it just, you know, between you and I brainstorming and come up with our game plan, it's just, and Hannah and Tacey as well. We can't leave out the ladies. But it really is awesome to see what's happened. I think it's rejuvenated our organization because a lot of people have been very excited about it, seeing each other. Mm-hmm. And I think we've built a lot of momentum. I know at the office, we've had tons of phone calls about the drama this year. I'm expecting a huge season for next year. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, yes, financially, not having a banquet or our season has really set us back, but we're hoping that people out there at home will want to contribute to us and help us so we can continue our ministry. This would have been our 46th season. Next year will be year 47. So we're excited for next June 18th to begin year 47. So again, thank you so much for supporting us online here. Gratitude. We talked about gratitude in last week's video, mentioned something. For me, it kind of ties in a little bit about last week. You know, our blessings at the Living Word has just been so amazing. It's the things that we've been able to upgrade, whether it be our seating, our handicap section, our parking lot lights, our lighting for the show, our sound system, our electronic system, you know, now the new tomb. But I'm going to flip, and instead of doing gratitude first, I'm going to tie mine together. I'm going to do intercession. An intercession, for me, a hurdle has been worrying about the financial concerns for the Living Word. As I said, we didn't have a season, we're behind, and when you think about how much we have lost, it's astronomical for a year. And I'm sitting here thinking, how are we going to get through this with no banquet, with no season? You know, when you figure what those bring in, you know, you're talking your 6 figures. So it is hard to not have that income. So it's been very difficult for me thinking, how are we going to overcome this? How are we going to overcome this? Well, going into gratitude now, I know it's backwards, folks, but I wanted to do it this way for a reason. I applied for a PPE loan for the Living Word, and we were granted that loan, which will become a grant so long as we keep the paperwork for 24 weeks. So it was a huge blessing to get some monies there. And then yesterday, we received a $2,000 check from a family. Just saying, hey, we understand that you guys are needing contributions. We know what you have lost. here's a contribution. So between those two things there alone, we have gotten $13,000 and in the last week and a half. So, oh, what a blessing that is. We're still well short, but God is blessing us, and it's teaching me a lesson that, hey, like you said about the flowers last week, God's in control, let him be in control. So there's my gratitude and intercession.
We try to jump the gun sometimes,
Right.
And he's already got that planned out to provide for us.
So anything for you, Logan?
My gratitude is, now this will be 2 weekends ago, but it was last weekend from our filming day, is we got to watch the Sight and Sound version of Jonah on TBN's app. They had it free for the weekend, so me and Hannah sat down and watched it, and it was just so cool watching that story played out as their theater produces it, and they do a phenomenal job. But one thing that I had never thought about was when Jonah was in the whale, he was talking about the pressure and just of the whale going down deeper in, and I had never thought about that, which he would have been going deeper down into the ocean, and he would have had that head pressure, and he's going, my head, all the pressure, and just, I know sometimes we can feel like that ourselves, like, oh man, all this pressure is going on, but God has already got a plan to get us out of that. We just have to have faith in it.
Very good.
So,
and then intercession just ties into that, or?
Yeah, a little bit. Just the pressure of everything can become overwhelming, and just at times you got to remember that God has a plan, and that we just need to be patient. Sometimes He says, "Go now," and sometimes He says, "Just hold on and wait. I got a plan. Just wait."
Okay, so witnessing. Any chance that we talked about last week? That we witnessed to some folks. Did you have anybody else that you were able to witness to?
I actually was able to share a little bit of scripture with some guys at work yesterday as well. So that was a nice opportunity to sit and talk with them and just share my beliefs with them and just give them the opportunity to see, hopefully, my actions portraying it as well as the words that I say.
Nice.
So.
Well, Ben and I, which would be my girlfriend's son, he's like one of my own, but Ben and I had gone to a professional disc golf tournament here recently. And we were there, and, one of the players was very, very just unsportsmanlike. I mean, kicking his bag and throwing his chair down after near every shot. I mean, it was really tough. And I had mentioned to one of the players, I said, man, I just would really like to go up to him and say, hey, listen, I work for a church and a spiritual organization. Is there anything I can help you with? And they said that probably wouldn't have went over too well with him. But then one of the other players said, man, he said, I knew that you were a Christian guy. And I said, well, why is that? He said, because your language, and he said my son, but Ben said your son's language, and he said, just the way you guys carry yourself, I could tell that you guys were Christian people. And that made me feel really good knowing that
you
not
were
just,
able to witness without even saying a word.
Right. Not just myself, but also that Ben, as 14 years old, is making an impact on people. And he actually got a caddy in the second round of the tournament. And they just said he is such a good boy and a pleasure. And that just made me feel really good because there he is as a 14-year-old also witnessing. And it just made me feel really good to be able to know that you're, like you said, your actions are speaking louder than any words.
And I mean, obviously from Ben's actions there, he's getting the good witnessing example from you and Tacey and others around him. So, I mean, not only witnessing to the disc golfers, but also you're witnessing to him as well.
Right.
So,
well, we want to go ahead and get started tonight. As I said, we'll go ahead and we are here again at Caleb Graham Production Studios. Thank you again, Caleb, for filming. He's a board member and has provided all these videos, so we just want to thank him. One of his catchphrases is "Capture Now," so I'm kind of promoting for him a little bit tonight, and then Logan's promoting for the Living Word also. So we got all of our companies and organizations that we're promoting tonight. So, but anyways, we're Matthew 27:11 through 19. Logan, why don't you go ahead and read your version real fast?
Okay, from the King James Version. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Art thou the King of the Jews? And Jesus said unto him, Thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner, whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead, and obviously the story continues, but we're just focused on Pilate and Claudia because that's the scene we'll be showing you this week, so that's why we're focusing just on those verses. Obviously at the drama, we continue on through the rest of this passage with the drama, but I'll be reading from the NLT. Now Jesus was standing before Pilate, the Roman governor. Are you the king of the Jews? The governor asked him. Jesus replied, You have said it. But when the leading priests and elders made their accusations against him, Jesus remained silent. Don't you hear all these charges they are bringing against you? Pilate demanded. But Jesus made no response to any of the charges, much to the governor's surprise. Now it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner to the crowd, anyone they wanted. This year, there was a notorious prisoner, a man named Barabbas. As the crowds gathered before Pilate's house that morning, he asked them, Which one do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah? He knew very well that the religious leaders had arrested Jesus out of envy. Just then, as Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him this message, Leave that innocent man alone. I suffered through a terrible nightmare about him last night. As the story goes on, obviously, Pilate releases Barabbas. The priests and elders want to then crucify Jesus. They keep getting louder and louder. The mob grows. So the hatred and envy towards Jesus continues to swell. And then Pilate has him flogged. Eventually that wasn't good enough, and they sent him to the cross to die. So that's how the rest of that story goes. But we're going to study just the verses 11 through 19. Logan, what can we learn about people from this passage?
Well, one thing I want to point out here is the scene that you'll see on Friday is the scene from the night before, or what our portrayal of what we think might have happened the night before, of Claudia waking up from these dreams and just talking about how much it's been bothering her with everything going on. And so their conversation and getting a little bit of insight into the history of the time and the position that Pilate was in and kind of the predicament that he was in with it. But I just wanted to preface that we're not going to during the trial of Jesus, but the scene that we're going to be showing is going to be the night before. So,
okay.
With you said God.
Yeah. What can we learn about people?
Oh, people. We're starting with people.
Yep.
Okay. That sometimes we demand an answer. And this also ties in with what can we learn about God, because I had written down that sometimes God is saying exactly what he needs to with saying nothing. At that moment, he didn't need to say anything. God had already given those dreams to Claudia, and Claudia was the one that needed to say something there. It wasn't something that needed to be said from Jesus himself. And sometimes we as people are sitting there going, you're not going to answer me? I need an answer for this. And we're trying to demand him to give us an answer. But he could be giving us an answer through somebody else. Somebody else could be saying something to us that's that answer. And we're just not listening. And we're demanding that him give us a sign or open up the clouds and say something to us. And he's not. He's trying to tell us in that still small voice from someone else.
I like that. For me, obviously, people are very envious. Here Jesus is, the teachers of the law and the elders and the Pharisees and the Sadducees, all that group, you want to lump them in together. They had the run of the mill, so to speak, and some of them obviously, without a shadow of doubt, I'm sure some of them had very pure hearts and loved God. But as we see most of them in an interaction with Jesus, they were very upset because he was rocking the boat and disrupting the way they had done things.
Yeah.
And they became very envious of that. And sometimes that can happen in our own personal lives when you're having success, whether it be at your work or whether outside in the community. People can get envious of that, and we see right now there's a lot of people in this country envious of other people and other things. So, I learned that about people. I also learned about people that people accused Jesus then, and people still accuse Jesus today. I mean, think about that. They still accuse him today. You've heard people say, "Why would God let that happen? How could he ever let that? If he's God, why there ain't no?" And so people are still accusing him today.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting. And then, when we look at Claudia, I wish we really knew more about Claudia than what the Bible teaches us. But, from my beliefs, I feel like Claudia knew. I mean, pretty much everybody knew who Jesus was. I mean, the guy, for lack of a better term, the guy was a rock star. I mean, he was going through towns. People knew who he was.
And
he had
crowds. Flocking to him.
He had crowds. I mean, he was a celebrity, so to speak, back in the day. And for good reason. I mean, he didn't call it upon himself. He didn't want that, but that's what happened, But anyways, I feel like Claudia knew who Jesus was, knew about his ministry, his message. I kind of feel like Claudia, from my beliefs, I think she probably, even though she was Roman and in a high position, I feel like she loved Jesus and knew who he was. And my point is all that is people with pure hearts know that Jesus is innocent. When she says, "Leave that innocent man alone," pure of heart people know that Jesus was innocent, that he died unjustly, but we're thankful because obviously it was God's master plan.
Yeah.
But we know that Jesus was innocent. I think that's interesting to learn about people for me. Anything else from this passage for you about people?
Well, that first point you were talking about with the priests saying that they were envious, I know we convey that in the drama with we'll lose, what will happen to us is one of the lines that one of the priests says is, what will happen to us? We will lose our place and position, and the tributes to God will cease. And they were more focused on, some of them were more focused on their position and thinking that it was all about them. And then they were envious over that. So
that's a great point. You can see sometimes when you're a leader of a church or a religious organization such as ourselves, I mean, you see sometimes people can become about themselves and lose focus of why they're there. It's not about themselves, it's about serving God. And you have that position because you're serving God. Yeah. So that's a good point, Logan. All right, let's move on to God. What can we learn about God from this passage?
Well, I kind of went into that with my people one was God sometimes can say exactly what he needs to with saying nothing at all. There he was silent when they were accusing him because he knew that even no matter what was said there, they weren't going to be convinced otherwise. And they were going to do what they were going to do. And sometimes we get that mindset as well as people, is we aren't going to change our mind there. So sometimes he's silent and he doesn't give us an answer, or the answer is no.
I think interesting to kind of piggyback off of your thought process is, do you find it interesting that he answered Pilate, but yet he didn't answer the priests or the elders?
Right.
I don't know if Jesus had just had enough of those guys, and there's almost like I have nothing else to say to you guys. I've said if you haven't been watching, which they were, because everywhere Jesus was, that they were right there trying to spy or watch
and try to catch him off guard.
Yeah, but I think he had just almost, in a way, said, "Mic drop. My actions. That's enough. I'm done. I don't need to say anything else to you guys." I don't know if that was his thoughts, but I found that interesting that their Pilate is, and he answers him. So I really think that's, interesting. But going also back again, what we learn about God is that God is innocent. God is innocent in everything He does. I've heard non-Christians say, well, our purpose in life is to sit and get on our knees and bow down to some entity. You know what I mean? He's like, people say, well, that sounds self-serving to me. That sounds selfish or whatever. And I've heard people say that before. I don't want to worship something like that. But the thing is everything that God does is innocent. What He does in our lives is for the good for us. He has no ill intent for our lives. He wants our lives to be, Woody Biggs has said this, He wants our lives to be holy. God doesn't call us to be happy, He calls us to be holy. But if we're holy, we are going to find happiness. So I think that, anything that, if you would ever think about God is, God is very innocent and He wants what's best for our lives and wants us to be pure just the way He is. So that's something that I kind of picked out of this that I learned about God. Anything else about God?
That God in here, He can use somebody who has, Claudia was in a high position, so she wasn't really like looked down upon, but she wasn't there at the trial. Right. She had to send a message to her husband.
Right.
And so he's using somebody who is kind of looked down as she's a woman. She's not allowed being here.
Right.
To send the message of like, you guys don't know what you're doing. And so she got that message, and He will use people that may not be looked upon as the best.
God loves
and she was also it kind of ties in the Samaritan and the centurion all at the same time. It's a Roman and a woman that would have been looked down upon by a Jewish man to be the lowest of the low almost, and He used her as the only one that had any kind of wisdom in this passage here.
If we'd open our eyes with what's going on in this country right now, God's doing some of the same thing. He's using certain individuals to try to, break those barriers and divides that we have going on today. God has continued to do that throughout history. As I just said, He's a shock and awe God sometimes, we would never expect a Samaritan woman to be used the way He used her, or a Roman centurion, or like you say, a Roman governor's wife. So it's interesting that in that sense. Logan, what's your I will statement then for the week?
This one's kind of tough.
Okay, I have mine. You want me to share mine?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, for me, I think I want to be like Christ in the way that I want to learn when to speak and when not to speak.
I really like that.
Sometimes, I'm a very opinionated person, and we've had good conversation, but there's times where we just need to not say anything at all. I have Christian friends who get into the politics stuff on Facebook or the sports stuff on Facebook. I used to be into the sports debates, and there just comes a time in your life where you have to realize, this isn't glorifying God.
Yeah, you've got to follow Jesus' example here of just being quiet, staying silent.
Having opinions, God built us, so He built us to have opinions. But to be ugly and hateful towards others with those opinions, there's nothing Christ-like or Christian-like about that at all. So that's my I will statement: is learn when to speak, like Jesus did to Pilate. Know your time.
I really like that one. So.
Okay. Oh, good.
I'm going to use that one.
All right, great. All right, Logan, why don't you go ahead and lead us with a prayer, and then we'll be done for this week's devotional.
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, and thank you for everything that you've given us through this passage of learning about Jesus and about Claudia, and just how you use specific individuals that may not be as the highest, and just you use them for your glory. And you also teach us through this that sometimes it's better to just hold our peace and not say anything at all, instead of trying to step in and argue your case and try to convince them otherwise. And just, we thank you for this passage that you have put in your scriptures to lay on us to teach lessons. And we ask that you be with the people that are watching, and just that they'll learn the lessons from this as well. And maybe they'll teach us something that we missed during this. And we also ask that if there is any health or any kind of issues going on with anybody watching this, that we can serve them and help them out through this tough time that we are going through. And we just ask you to help remove this virus from our world and just heal our world right now. And we ask all of this in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, we have 3 devotionals left after this week. We'll be studying Peter's denial next week. And then we have Jesus defeating the tomb and death, and then the Great Commission. So we're wrapping this season up, but we want to thank you again for joining us. And when you do the devotionals, please comment in the comments.
Yeah,
we have a few.
We love seeing those. And
I know Randy Bates, our stage manager, and then Rachel Doak has been commenting. So we really appreciate that, Rachel and Randy, and others who have commented. I know Justin Turner has commented before. So we just thank you for commenting, and we enjoy that. But thanks. We hope you have a great week, and God bless.
God bless.